I've been in a bit of a crisis. I love watching cars go round in circles, but that doesn't really have a good environmental image. When we think of motorsports, we think of the gas-guzzling machines of Formula One or NASCAR. With the climate crisis, it seems like motorsport is part of the problem. Formula One, for example, while using hybrids and a percentage of biofuels, still produces significant carbon emissions both on and off track. With carbon neutrality not set to come into 2030, it's not a viable, sustainable option. There aren't many other forms of motorsport which are much further along in becoming carbon neutral. Even electric championships such as FIA ETCR, an electric touring car series, it isn't set to be net zero until 2040. However, if you enjoy watching cars going round in circles and you care about the environment, there is a carbon neutral alternative: Formula E. Formula E has been certified as net zero carbon since inception, but how is this achieved? And even with its green credentials, does it provide good racing, and is it worth watching? Formula E is an electric-powered single-seater world championship that races around some of the world's biggest cities. The championship had humble beginnings. It was the 3rd of March 2011, and Spanish businessman Alejandro Agag had a meeting with the then president of the FIA, Jean Todt, in a restaurant in Paris. Agag wrote down his ideas for an all-electric, street circuit-based series on the back of a napkin. The mission for Formula E was to race around the world's most iconic cities and raise the profile of sustainable mobility. By 2011, a first prototype car had been developed, the Formulec, which became the groundwork for the Gen 1 car. Over the next few years, the car and format of the series were developed. The stage was set for the first season of the Formula E Championship to begin in September 2014. Each race would run over a certain amount of laps, and drivers were expected to change car midway through the race, as there wasn't yet the battery life for the car to last a whole race. The season ended in June 2015, after 11 races in 10 different cities, crowning Nelson Piquet Jr. as champion. Over the next 3 seasons, 3 more champions from 3 different teams would be crowned, while the series visited new locations around the world. During this time, the Gen 1 car would also develop, allowing manufacturers and teams to supply their own powertrains. In 2018, the Gen 2 car came into existence, which saw an increase in safety with the introduction of the halo and the end of car swaps. The 2018-19 season also saw the first repeat champion, with Jean-Eric Vergne clinching the title. When the pandemic hit in 2020, for a series based on street circuits, it looked like the full season was not going to be completed. However, they managed to fill out the season with 6 races in 8 days, racing on 3 different configurations of the track at Berlin Tempelhof Airport. Formula E has grown so much in 6 years that for the 7th season in 2021, it was granted World Championship status by the FIA, further cementing the series as the pinnacle of electric motorsport. Nyck de Vries became the first world champion, winning for Mercedes that season. This was followed by Stoffel Vandoorne winning for the same team a season later. And that brings us to today, with Season 9 and the introduction of the Gen 3 car, further changing the series. In 2020, the Formula E Championship had been certified as net zero carbon since inception, meaning that it had no carbon footprint. But how does it achieve carbon neutrality? Firstly, the championship calculates a carbon footprint race by race, with a focus on lowering emissions. To reduce the carbon footprint, measures are put in to optimize freight, waste is recycled at all events, and all power for the series comes from renewable sources where possible. There is still a carbon footprint, however, so this will need offsetting. Offsetting is the act of balancing CO2 emissions impact by investing in projects that reduce CO2 emissions to the same proportions. For Formula E, unavoidable emissions are offset through investment in gold standard, verified carbon standard, and clean development mechanism projects. These projects are socially sustainable and help advance the production of renewable energy and maximise the benefits brought by electric cars. New generation of cars brought in this year are set to continue the green credentials of the series. All carbon fibre parts from the cars will be recycled into new fibres that can be used for other applications. The tyres will contain 26% sustainable materials in the composition. Furthermore, the electric motors in the new Gen 3 machines will convert 90% of electrical power to drive the motors. Formula E doesn't just operate sustainably, it also pushes to take part in campaigns on the matter, which include World Earth Day, World Environment Day, and World EV Day. Further donations and investments also go to community projects and education in the host cities, in the aim to raise more awareness and leave a positive legacy. Not only does Formula E strive for sustainability, but also equality. It supports gender equality in motorsport, which is a very male-heavy sport, through the FIA Girls on Track programme, which aims to increase the percentage of girls from 8 to 18 years old in motorsport. Is it worth watching? In terms of racing action, the series definitely delivers, with the races being shorter than Formula 1 and the cars being a lot better at following and overtaking, making them more exciting to watch. This season, there are 11 rounds with 16 races over 7 months, a decent sized and packed schedule. And in terms of names, Formula E has got some great talents, like series champions Stoffel van Dorn, Jean-Eric Verne, Lucas di Grassi, Antonio Felix da Costa and Sebastian Buemi. They also have other big talents which motorsport fans should recognise, like André Lotterer, Pascal Wehrlein and René Rast. Big manufacturers also take part in this series, such as Porsche, Nissan, Jaguar, and new for this year, McLaren and Maserati. The series is also fairly easy to follow, being aired on numerous channels internationally, while race and qualifying highlights are available to watch shortly after on the Championship's YouTube channel. The series isn't perfect, however, with Formula E facing some similar issues to other global sports. The series does hold races in countries with less than stellar human rights records, such as Saudi Arabia, which does taint the image of the championship. Overall, however, Formula E produces exciting racing while advocating for climate activism, as motorsport's only current carbon-neutral series for those who are environmentally conscious and enjoy watching racing, then maybe Formula E is a viable and positive alternative.